So we watched a show with Grant Cardone in it, who is a property mogul over in America. The show was Undercover Billionaire, where he gets his fortune taken away from him. He gets dumped in a town that no one knows him. He's given a truck, a phone with no contacts, and $100 and 90 days to build a business
like $1 million
to as
business.
big as he can make it
Yeah.
in that time. We had some learnings.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing that I noticed was that he actually just asked for things, you know, and it kind of got me thinking of the fact that how many times in life do we ask? Do we actually say, hey, this is what I want? And most people, it's so funny because people even, you know, clients I work with, you know, they'll want to come to something or they'll, you know, want to work with me somewhere and they'll go, oh, but I wasn't sure. And it's like, but literally just ask me. Like,
Yeah.
and it's one of the things that we talk about with our girls as well, about how, you know, I might be intuitive, but I'm not a mind reader. And
Exactly.
if you have needs that have to be met, like,
You need to ask us
come and
for
ask,
them.
like
Yeah.
vocalize your needs. Like, and I think, I mean, I don't know if it's the same for men, but definitely for women have been taught to be quiet, to be subservient, and they've been taught that it's bad and it's selfish and it's rude to actually ask for what you want.
I don't think it's a gender thing. I think that's something that we all have. This whole... So if you are asking for something, all right, so if you want something, you need to ask for it, right?
Yes.
But we all have, well, actually not all. There are a couple of people that I know who do not have this, but we all have this
And are they men?
No.
Okay.
And we all have this fear of rejection. What if they say no? What are they going to think about me if I ask for this thing? There is this fear of judgment, and then there's also the am I good enough? Why would I deserve this? It's like stepping into like bigger things. Like it can be stepping into a different persona, a different person, if you're asking for these things.
But I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's a big thing or a little thing. Like if you're asking for a glass of water or you're asking for a pay rise, I mean, it's the exact same thing of like,
That's right.
it's a need for me. Like I need a glass of water because I, you know, have to drink because I'm a living organism. But also like asking for a pay, it's all the same thing. So if you can't ask for something little, you're not going to be able to ask for anything big either. And
Indeed.
Here's the other thing. If you can't ask somebody, like another human being, for anything, like how can you ask the universe for anything? Because there's only one of us here. And by asking somebody else, you know, you're literally
asking yourself.
Well, you're like literally asking God, like, you know, well, hey, God, can I have this? But yeah, I don't know. I personally think it's more of a female thing because females...
I personally don't, because I know that
Oh,
guys
you
have
know.
the same issues.
I think in my experience, I have found men are much more willing to go and take what they want and believe that they are more worthy of things. Whereas women...
I think we're going to agree to disagree on this.
All right, then. All right. Yeah, I think women are more likely to not ask and put their needs second.
Are you talking about like motherhood, like the
Well,
maternal instinct thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think about even in our own relationship and lives, like how much you will be more likely to look after yourself or take a bath or read a book, whereas I won't do that until things are done. So you'll leave, you know, the washing and things and be like, no, I deserve to sit down and do this. Whereas,
Well, I do.
Yeah, but see,
And
women
so do
don't.
you.
Yeah, but
So whose issue is this? Is this a women's issue or is this a
I
you
think this is
issue?
a patriarchy issue, actually. Because the thing is that, you know, it doesn't get done. So men do seem to think that they are more worthy and deserving of things because the patriarchy has allowed them to think that.
My, this has taken a turn.
I don't think it's taken a turn at all. I think it's
This is where you
this
were
is the
intending
crux.
it to go.
No, this is the crux of the issue, is that I think that society makes women especially think that they are less of a good less of a good person if they are asking to have their needs filled.
Okay.
I mean, this is a giant thing I see in women's coaching, a giant thing I see in like women's empowerment, the idea that yes, you are worthy of things that I believe men just think they are. And I just watch in the world how, like, even with kids, like boys will take things and just be like, well, yeah, because I wanted it. Whereas girls will be like, oh, well, yeah, I suppose. Like, even just watching our children play sometimes, there is this thing of like, you know, boys will be boys and they get to be a bit more boisterous and a bit more assertive, and girls tend to be a lot more passive.
I'm wondering where that comes from.
Patriarchy. And I mean, if you think about it, let's go way, way, way back. I mean, we were at the Alexander McQueen exhibit on the weekend, and he had, you know, part of his exhibit was about women and long hair, and how women with long hair were thought to be powerful. And so I was talking to the girls about, well, if a woman is seen to be anywhere in her power, like, you know, the patriarchy wants to destroy that. You know, burning women at the stake. You know, there's been a lot of persecution.
There is that.
So
There's also, we watched Fantastic Fungi yesterday, and the whole psychedelic drug wave that went through society in the 60s got stamped out because it was different and there was a power in there.
Yes.
And it's like, no, the stepping out of the societal norms or challenging the power gets stamped out.
Whether it's male or female, you're saying?
Whatever it is.
Yeah, and you know, I don't disagree with that, but I do think that women have had it slightly harder, as, you know, like, if we, like, that's just, okay, you know, mainstream medicine stamped it out, whereas I'm talking about things like Salem witch trials, where, like, if you dared to even have a thought, you'd be killed. So slightly like, oh, being silenced because we're not allowed to do this, and actually losing your life because you spoke up, not really the same thing, are they? Like, there is an inherent power imbalance, and there is an inherent fear that is, you know, evolutionary, that is, you know, generational, that sort of sits within women, the trauma of, hey, if I speak up, perhaps it's not safe for me. So whereas men, it's like, oh, maybe I'm not worthy, maybe I don't feel good. With women, it's much more of an evolutionary, this could mean death to me. So I mean,
I wonder. I wonder. Like, I'm curious about that.
I mean, this is just my experience.
Yeah.
As a woman.
Yeah.
And a brown woman, a minority in the world, about.
I am very curious about that. About whether, you know, does that play on, you know? All right. So, fairy tales. The witches are normally the evil character in any of the fairy tales in Disney, right? It's normally a witch. It's not, there's like Hades.
No, yeah, it's usually
and
women.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's, you know,
there's
Ursula,
Jafar.
it's
Jafar in Aladdin. But I mean, you're right, like the witches. If you think of, it's usually, it is. And this is like,
especially
I mean,
the older ones.
I mean, that's the crone.
Yeah.
Or now we're talking
ones.
about archetypes. And the crone is a woman on her own, a woman who is done with the world, and a woman who is in her power. So yes, most crones would have been labelled witches because they would be outcast, and you know, again, they're women on their own who don't need anybody to fulfill their own needs.
Evil somehow. And then there's Sleeping Beauty, where it's the stepmother who is the queen and, you know, the fairest of them all until Snow White.
Also crone.
Yep. So she's the powerful one, the queen, who then destroys others to keep her power. It's
What are you trying to say with that?
I'm seeing now where all of the fairy tales that little kids grow up with.
Oh, so you're only just seeing this?
Yes.
See, so this is it. Like
I'm a privileged white male. Yes.
I mean, I think you've sort of slightly understood this, but you know, the more we sort of go on in our lives, the more you're starting to understand like what it actually is. And here I am coming, you know, getting older and coming more into that minority where I will be coloured, female, not skinny, and also old soon. You know, and being that kind of minority, like society doesn't allow you to take up any space, and you do become branded a certain type of person if you stand up for yourself. And this is the archetype of, you know, the Marga and the crone. These are women who are done with being, you know, needing anyone to fulfill them.
What is the Marga?
The Marga is just before the crone, so it's after your motherhood is finished and just when you're coming into menopause. There is no archetype. There's no male archetype
because I hear Marga and think of mage, which would be magician.
That's alchemist.
Which is different.
Yeah, no, alchemist and magician are different. No, Marga is the mystic queen. So she is a woman who is starting to come into her power, and the crone is just before, you know, she sort of represents death. And this is a time.
And the wise old ladies.
Well, the funny thing is that men don't have these stages of their life, right? So it is a lot harder for men to understand power imbalances because they are always in power, and you've always looked a bit older and a bit more distinguished. You are white, and you are a man, and you are a doctor. So I mean, you know, you have all of these powers. So for you to say, I mean, it's fine, but you will probably never understand my experience like I do, because you're right. Like, you're only just seeing the fact that any type of woman in her power, so anytime a woman asks for what she wants, or she doesn't need anybody to do anything, so she doesn't need to ask, she's branded as a bad person, like she's a witch, like, and they killed us.
Think about some of our female friends who have made it big in business. They're branded bitches, right?
Yeah, and there's like, you know,
or cutthroat, or like they're not given the same lenience, the same
definitely not.
If they had been guys.
But a lot of women we know who have made it really big in business have played into the patriarchy and have played the masculine role, and that's how they have become successful. I do not know a lot of very successful women who are in their feminine, because the feminine is not regarded as powerful or successful.
I'm interested to see where this goes over the next couple of years.
Yes.
The world is shifting. I'm interested to see how that plays out for women in business and powerful roles.
Well, I mean, I would like to see, even if I don't think in my lifetime I will see that big change, but what I really want to see is women who are unapologetically able to ask for what they want. You know, from themselves, from the people around them, and from God, you know, and I actually don't think it has much to do with worthiness. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's survival, and I think that there is fear underneath that, which is generational, which is genetic, which has been passed down, which is archetypal, and I think it's not as simple as just being like, okay, well, I won't be afraid. But this is the work I do. The work I do is that all fear is one fear, and that, you know, every single day we face our fear, and that's what I do every day devotionally. That's what I do in my work. I help my clients face their fear, move that fear to love, and hopefully clear these fears from our energetic bodies and our physical bodies so that we can stand up and ask for what we want without the fear of being killed.
I was going to ask all right, so it's all pretty horrible. What can we do about it?
Well, this
move
is what
past fear.
Well, exactly.
Move into love.
There's a billion ways you can do that. But the ways I do it, there's breath work and chanting and meditation. I work with archetypes. This is my work. Like this is make this 24/7 what I do. So, I mean, it's what I work with people on the tables with. I mean, any woman who's worked with me will know that I am unapologetic in getting them to face their fears, look at what's really going on, and move, and transmute that fear into love and move through it. Because I actually don't think that we can ask for what we want until we actually face what we are really afraid of.
Yeah.
Personally. And this is the thing. Grant Cardone is the perfect example of a rich, privileged white man
who built his way up from nothing.
He did build his way up from nothing.
But he's now in that state, yep.
I mean, yes, he did. He did start slightly more privileged, though, being white, born in a country that is not the developing world, and being born a man. So he never really pays any homage to that. And he never, or the other thing he doesn't do is he does talk about a lot of stuff as if he invented it. Now, this is a really interesting thing.
Yes.
Because now we come into the fact that men cannot be humble. It is a very hard thing to be humble.
Offense.
Fair enough, but you can take offense as much as you want to that. But you just admitted that you've never even really understood fairy tales before. And you've only just started to understand that, holy shit, the bad women are bad ones of women. It's a woman who's in her power.
As a guy, you always identify with Prince Charming.
Yeah, 100%. And when
always the savior.
Exactly.
And you're already the prince.
And there you go. Exactly. You are charming and beautiful. I mean, he's a very one-dimensional character, but he has everything.
That is most guys. Did I say that?
But yeah, so Grant Cardone when I look at him, I'm like, so he has no humility. And that's really good for him in business.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Because he believes he cannot fail. He's got no.
He doesn't have any weaknesses, and he will just go straight after
so
what he wants.
He doesn't, and he
That's
doesn't
a
pay.
superpower.
Yeah, he doesn't pay homage to the people who have come before him, the people who have taught him, and is very much I built my way up from nothing. It's like, yeah, nothing, but you're a white dude living in America. Like, I know that you're already a couple of steps above me. Like, do you know what I mean? So, I mean, yes, he had a single mother. Yes, he grew up in housing and stuff. But I mean, I had that too. So then I have the added thing of being brown and a female. So when you start to look at privilege like that, he doesn't pay homage to the fact that I'm a white guy. So I just wonder. Yes, as a woman, it would be harder for me to ask because of the shit I carry with me, which I work on. So I feel like that's, most of the time taken care of. I'm not always perfect. But I just wonder if I showed up as a woman, a brown woman, and asked for what I wanted, what would happen? I mean, there is a brown woman.
Still need to ask to find out, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly. Yeah. That's it. And that is about meeting the fear of what's behind, why am I so afraid to ask? And that's why you meet your fear every single day. And, it could just be as simple as, oh gosh, what are they going to think about me? And it could be as complex as, well, my ancestors were killed when they expressed anything that wasn't the norm. And I think it could be a combination of all those things. But
I think there's also a acknowledging of the fact that we are in the safest time in history. So
for you.
For all of us.
Well,
worldwide, we are in the safest, most abundant time in all of human history. So speaking up and asking for what you need there has never been a safer time.
Yeah, again, okay, I'll pay that for most situations, yes. I mean, you just look at what's just happened in the Australian Parliament. One of the female Parliament people in the Parliament? MPs. Member of Parliament, that's the one. She went to a women's rally and read a letter by an Iraqi woman who was afraid for her safety, and she's been suspended now. So I don't know,
all right.
Yes and no.
Yes.
So the fear is...
The only thing that I know about that is that apparently there were Nazi sympathizers and stuff at the same rally, and she got lumped in with that, and that's why she got suspended.
Yeah, see, now that
Like, that's
see,
been twisted
this
so
seems like a
strangely.
witch
I've got
hunt to
no
me.
idea
Witch hunt.
what's real and what's just news.
Witch
or
hunt.
what's what.
See, this looks like a witch hunt to me. This looks like anyone, a bunch of white men coming together to say, brand a woman as bad and say, no, that's not okay, and shut her up for standing up and asking for standing up for what she actually believed was right. And this is what I'm saying is that, look, standing up and asking for something, yes, there are some fears involved, perhaps some very valid fears, okay? But it is about facing those fears and understanding that your fears are, well, they're real. They're real to you. They're completely founded. But it's about meeting those fears every single day and calming and regulating your own nervous system so that you can feel safe enough to ask in safe spaces. I'm not, advocating you go out and ask but in safe spaces, ask for what you want, because you're right. Most of the time we live in a very safe, now I'm just talking about like asking your friends, to have your needs met or something and saying, hey, I need some help here. We live in a very safe time. But if fear is coming up and you can't just, turn around and ask your husband, like, actually, can you just, pick the kids up or, put the washing out or something because you're too afraid of what they're going to think, like, that's a problem, because it's a very safe environment. And, you might as well ask, because if you ask and you say no, you're literally in the exact same spot as if you didn't ask. So, yeah, but I think the biggest thing is that one, yes, especially for women, can be terrifying to ask. Very complex issue. But it is about meeting that fear.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Cool.
That's my
And there we
conclusion
go.
for that.
See you next time.